Hi, I'm John Rogers. I created the show Leverage and wrote Transformers, and you're listening to GenreTainment.
Hi, everyone. You are listening to GenreTainment at SyFyPulseRadio.com, and we're your hosts, Marx
and Julie, and today we chat with the cast and crew of the TV series Neon Cornfield. Writer and director Steve Marra, actress Angela Plank, and actor Sam Fain tell us about their new show, plus a bonus interview with the stars of SyFy's Being Human, Sam Huntington and Kristen Hager.
Now, Neon Cornfield is a new 30-minute comedy TV series. The pilot is currently online for anyone to see. Now, here's the synopsis. Facing foreclosure on their corn farm, a Midwest family finds newfound fortune by producing internet adult films in their empty barn. And now Neon Cornfield is Boogie Nights meets Green Acres and maintains an outrageous comedic feel in the vein of Weeds, Californication, Hung, and Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Boogie Nights meets Green Acres. That's awesome. Okay, now this funny interview exposes the behind-the-scenes making of this new comedy, and there are many hilarious stories to tell.
Plus, I got the chance to speak again with the cast members of SyFy Channel's Being Human during a phone conference interview. This time I spoke to Sam Huntington, who plays Joss, and Kristen Hager, who plays Nora, and they tell us what to expect in the new season of this popular supernatural series about werewolves, vampires, and ghosts all living under the same roof.
Now, what you just heard at the beginning of the show was a snippet from the theme song from our web series, Reality on Demand. It's a song composed and performed by our friend T. Sean Hardy. Now, you can find our web series at realityondemandseries.com.
Now, let's get started with our first interview with the cast and crew of Neon Cornfield. You are listening to GenreTainment. This is Marx and
Julie, and today we're speaking with the cast and crew of the TV pilot Neon Cornfield. So could you all please introduce yourselves and tell about what your role is in this project?
Hi everybody, I'm Steve Marra. I'm the writer-director of Neon Cornfield, the funniest TV series in years.
Hi everyone, my name is Angela Plank, and I play Ellen Barnett in Neon Cornfield. Probably one of the most humorless characters in the pilot. But, I promise if you stay tuned, she perks up.
A nice person, too. Right?
And I am Sam Fain, and I play Justin Hammer, the male lead porn star.
A.K.A. the naked jogger.
Yeah, the naked
jogger.
That's me.
So were you running just, trying to be extra graceful while doing the jogging scenes, to compensate for the lack of support? That was my first question when I saw that. That can't be comfortable.
It's one of those things that you just do. Ultimately, when I first got out of the van for the shoot and had to disrobe, there was that initial moment of, am I really doing this? Followed by, yeah, of course. So just go do it. And that's kind of what it is. Because ultimately, Justin's out there trying to work on his tan, and tan lines are no good in the porn industry. So,
Maybe you should have just...
Angela, I do have to say, mercifully, I was not on set. But several of my friends were, and Steve, I'm sure, can tell it better, because what I understand is you guys didn't necessarily have permits to be shooting out on those roads, so you want to explain how it works?
Are there any of the commissioners in Boone County going to hear this?
No.
Not unless you tell them.
We shot those scenes in this really remote area of just north of Indianapolis and just outside a little town called Whitestown. And I got a little nervous about a week before the shoot. I said, we can't have any police running around and all that kind of stuff. So maybe I ought to get in front of the commissioners and just get permission to use these roads. And things were going fine. There's 6 commissioners, and I was explaining the show, and I didn't obviously mention what Sam would be doing on the street, but I did mention we have production assistants that'll be on either end of the street. When we see a car, we stop. We just let the car go by, so there won't be any traffic problems. And sure enough, in the back, sitting in the back, being real quiet, this Indiana sheriff stands up. And, he's a little overweight and his belt's squeaking and all this shit. Because, when we do these big shows, we usually have a cop at either end of the street and regulate the traffic, so nobody gets hurt. And I turned back to the commissioners, and so the cop couldn't see me. I just waved my hand in front of my chest going, no, we don't need that. We don't need that. And the commissioners go, oh, I don't think we need that shit, do we? So everybody signed off on it. We didn't have any police or any problems.
But as it comes, they had people, I think, on walkie-talkies, and anytime a car came along, poor Sam had to run and hide in the cornfield.
I did. I had to dive into a cornfield wearing only a sock and some shoes.
Okay, now please tell me you at least had on some bug spray and some sunblock.
Oh, actually, it's so funny that you mentioned the sunblock because I didn't for the first 3 hours of the day, and then finally somebody came up to me and they're like, "You want some sunscreen?" And I thought, "Oh God, yeah!" And I did. I was in a play at the time, and I actually showed up to rehearsal for the play the night after we shot this. And I got there, and I just kind of was like, man, why am I itching? And I got home, and I took off my shirt, and I was just red as a lobster on my shoulders and back. And I thought, man, why didn't I think of that beforehand?
Makeup crew had sunblock and stuff.
Yeah, no, I was.
No
I
one
could
was
have
going to
been well
volunteer
taken.
to apply it.
I had it on like sheets. It was just such a bright day that day.
Yeah, which was good for the shoot.
It was great.
Yeah.
Okay, so if people missed the synopsis about the show, or text, they're probably going, "What is this about? Is a porn star or naked dog?" So
that hooked them.
Yeah. So can you explain what Neon Cornfield is about?
Yeah, you want the TV guideline, the one-liner?
Sure.
In facing foreclosure on their corn farm, a Midwest family finds newfound fortune shooting internet pornography in their empty barn. Mm-hmm. That's really what the story is about. And I think that we in the pilot, we catch the family and everybody that's involved in it, 9 months, 10 months down the road. They've already been successful at it, and they've got the business in gear. And Ellen, Angela's character, is straight up and down business. She's got the thing running, humming like crazy. But
sorry.
She never. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean that. Angela got everything working great, but she hardly ever goes in the barn. She didn't want to see it. She knows what's going on, but she doesn't want to see it. She just wants to, cash the checks. Mm-hmm. Or the PayPal payments.
Right. Yeah. Now, they have a teenage daughter, and it's not a big town. So how exactly are they think they're keeping this from their daughter, right? How do they think they're doing this?
I'll let Angela answer that one.
Yeah, I think I can honestly say, having raised a teenage girl, I think that is just one of the fantasies that all parents buy into, that their children are somehow less worldly wise than we wish they were. I think they somehow, Tom and Ellen have managed to convince themselves that as long as she doesn't come and confront them about it, she doesn't know. And, what comes up at the dinner table doesn't exist. And so I think that they're just choosing really to see their daughter in this one particular light, to see her as very young and innocent. Kind of like a teenager's closet. You don't really want to look in there because you may not really want to see what you might see. I think they don't ask her any questions and they don't probe too far in that direction because they really don't want to know whether she knows. They're more comfortable just assuming she doesn't.
Mm-hmm. So, Steve, how did you come up with this concept about a farming family that turns to porn?
Real life story. No, it's just kidding.
Well, they told me at UCLA Film School, write what you know. No, actually, there is a story behind that. I was taking a weekend break and driving down to this place called West Baden, which is in southern Indiana. Very nice, beautiful forest, and it's a state park and all that kind of stuff. Just to chill out. And you got to go through some of the worst, I think that the poorest counties in Indiana to get to this wonderful casino spa. Mm-hmm. And I was driving along this country road, and we went through this little town called Salem, and everybody was out on the street. I mean, old people, young people, they were all walking around. Saying, why are these people hanging out in the middle of a Friday afternoon? Don't they work or anything? What do these people do for jobs? And then we went by some farms that were really dilapidated and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know what happened. It just seemed to me, barn, people not making money, internet. oh, they're all doing porn in their barn. That's what they're doing. And I kept driving, and I go, damn, that's a great show idea. So the rest is history.
A bolt from the blue.
A bolt from the blue, that's right. Literally happened on the way to West Baden.
Yeah, that really is. It's a beautiful area there, but it really is the poorest area. And
it's unbelievable how poor it is.
Yeah, I mean,
and they were thinking, when they created that area down there, the hotels existed, but they refurbished them and everything. They were thinking that the gambling and the casino and the golf and all that stuff was going to rescue the community. Well, it hasn't.
No, because it's the French Lick area, which is a great name, and that used to be a tourist area way back when people believed that those natural springs would cure every ill.
Right, yeah. Al Capone had a suite at the West Baden Hotel.
Yeah,
They take the train from Chicago down there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Now, and to veer off, wouldn't that be a great name for the town, French Lick?
Yeah, I just said it there.
I think you might have people fight
and Tom take a vacation.
That's the name of the town. Yeah.
Awesome. You'll be the floor show, Justin. Tom and Ellen need some help in the bedroom. So,
maybe a romantic weekend in French Lick.
Right.
Doctor ordered.
Okay, so you came up with the concept. So why did you decide to make it a TV show versus trying to put it together as a film?
Well, the more I kind of thought about storylines and stuff, the story arcs that started developing were I thought were really cool. I mean, there's so much tension that you can build between Tom and Ellen and their daughter, Sammy. Then there's all kinds of liaisons that can happen with the porn stars. That's one of the reasons we did that ending, where we're bringing hopefully a new star onto the set. It happens to be an Amish kid with who'd have thunk, right? So when I came up with that, I said, man, there's all kinds of stories we can write about these people. So it just seemed like series was the way to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now explain,
And the Amish are hot right now. Amish Mafia.
Oh, that is just the most horribly offensive thing I think I have ever seen.
You know what I thought, though, when I was writing the scene is, hey, money's money. So the economy's tough, so if this Amish father can get his kid employed, make some big bucks, it's all about the money, And you see on the kid's face that he actually, he's kind of up for this.
Yeah, he's into it.
This new challenge.
He's up for it, all right.
Well, maybe he can.
Up for it twice.
maybe he can find a loophole with that. Maybe he hasn't had his room spring yet, so maybe he can,
This will be his room.
There you go.
Yeah, get that in. So that's a loophole he could employ on your show.
Yeah.
I have to say, going back to the original question, though, I think the reason that Steve made it into a TV series instead of a movie is because, with this premise, there are just way too many dick jokes that you can put into a movie. If you put it in a movie, you lose all those possibilities.
And I genuinely think one of the things that kind of attracted me to it the first time that I read the script was the idea that it's this wonderful jumping off point for a story about community.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's so much that can be said, in particular about the idea that we have this this family that's been struggling, and so they turn to something that most people would certainly look down on and be abhorred at, and never for a second want to actually attempt it, just for the ramifications it could have socially. And yet they go for it just because they need it as a means to survive. And the wonderful thing is they do it to save their farm. And then the other thing that I love that Steve's written into it is that it's not just about saving themselves. They're giving money to the church. They're giving money to the schools. They're giving, they're using this to help support their community. And I think that the wonderful thing about having it as a television series as opposed to a film is that it gives you an opportunity to really explore that community. And I think that one of the things that excites me is not only as an actor that there are lots of places that Justin can go, if it goes on, but there are also a lot of people that we probably haven't even seen yet, maybe not even heard about yet, that are going to end up playing a part in this at some point in the future, just because it is kind of a small town, it is local, and there's no way that sooner or later everybody's not going to find out about what's going on in that barn.
Now the
stuff that can happen with the townspeople, I think, has got me salivating most.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Was that behind your reasoning, or what was your reason for setting it in Indiana?
It just seems right. Mm-hmm. Lots of corn, lots of small towns, and unfortunately, there's some small thinking in India. It's a very conservative state, Mm-hmm. So for a family to take the leap of this type of a business in just on the outskirts of a small town in Indiana, to me it seemed like that was all the puzzle pieces fit.
Yeah.
You could do this in Boston, but that doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, and I didn't have anything to do with Steve's decision, but like you're saying, the truth is, conflict creates drama. And so, if you set the series in a place where there would very naturally be a lot of conflict between people's relatively conservative religious and political opinions and, making porn, there's a lot more drama involved than Steve is right. If you set it in a suburb of Chicago even, or outside of LA, or wherever, you're not going to have that tension or that source of conflict and thus drama as you would setting it here, where a community would, if you asked them on Sunday morning, would be incredibly opposed to it, and yet, on Saturday night, you might find quite a few of them watching it on their laptop.
Exactly. I think the other interesting about it is that it's the type of thing that, sure, could have said it in Iowa, could have said it in Missouri or Nebraska or Idaho or any number of states that, have, even someplace like Illinois, which has a lot of farming, but setting it near a big city or towards a big city, obviously the taboo kind of wears off a little bit. So I think that's one of the things that's nice. It makes it relatable to a lot of people, even though it's set in Indiana. And at the same time, being from Indiana and living here now, there are a lot of very specific things that maybe we can add that, an Indiana audience would appreciate and be interested in. It's, I actually lived in Scranton for a while, and I remember when The Office first started airing, every time they would mention a little thing about Scranton, it made somebody like me go, oh, that's really cool, and yet that show could be set anywhere. It doesn't have to be set in Scranton, and I think that's kind of a nice thing about something like Neon Cornfield. It can be set in a small town in Indiana and be relatable no matter where you live, and yet there are those people that really know that small town Indiana that'll be able to get a kick out of some of those smaller things.
Right. You know what really sold me on it?
What's that?
Was when we did the mailbox. It says Indiana's finest corn, and then some Halloween prankster came along and crossed out C and put P over it. When I saw the mailbox prop, I said, "It's got to be in Indiana. It just sounds right. Indiana's corn."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now the TV pilot is currently available online to watch on Vimeo.
And we do recommend it.
Yes.
Watch it.
So what's your strategy with the? Have you filmed any other episodes? Are you marketing it right now?
I haven't filmed any. I've got 6 episodes in various script pieces. I've got storylines for all 6, but I haven't scripted all 6 yet. Because in the industry, in the TV industry, you got to have this thing called a series Bible, which is basically the blueprint for the entire series.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to come up with that paperwork, I had to come up with stories. So I got like 6 storylines and synopsis for them, and all the character backgrounds and the concept of the show, and just to show a programming executive where this show can go, and that's all in the Bible. Mm-hmm. So the strategy is there's a big TV convention in Miami at the end of the month called NAPTE, National Association of Television Producers and Executives, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds right. But it's got everybody under one roof, and plus it's in Miami, so what the hell? Might as well go down there and spend a couple days. But, we've got an attorney here that's helping us pitch, and I'm going to go down there and snag some people for 5 minutes and give the pitch and see what happens.
Well, great. Well, good luck.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this would be something on Showtime, HBO, something like that.
Discovery with Amish Mafia.
I mean, that's our target.
Discovery at night.
Broadcasters, because we can keep the language fun and we can keep the scenes fun. Because if we go to the next tier, would be like FX. We could still get away with a lot of stuff on FX, but we're pitching to Showtime and HBO, and believe it or not, Netflix is one of my big targets.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because they're looking at original programming, and they've got a lot of money.
That's true. So.
You hear that, Netflix?
Netflix are coming for you.
Yeah, I know who you are, programming executive. I don't want to mention her by name. I might freak her out.
You're going to show up, and they're going to hand you a restraining order.
Right. Yeah, the lawsuit.
Now, how much research went into this?
Wait a minute.
Well, I was a teenage boy once, so.
Well, I got a lot of years of research on this. I lived in LA for 12 years. That's good research. I don't know. It's just so much imagination. You know, my grandparents lived on a farm, so I visited a farm a lot, and I knew what going in the barn was, and you know, you could take the neighborhood girls in the barn, and you know, the rest is dinner. I can't. I'm not sure I got a good answer for that one. Just years of living was my research.
Now,
but I'll tell you, one of the greatest things about the youngness of this show was when we did our table read with everybody. We had so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, try this. Try this. Try this. Try this. And Sam came in to do his reading, and one of the things that totally sold me on Sam, he does the whole thing, you know, where he's fluffing himself in front of Tom, and at the end of his dialogue, he takes his right hand and puts it on Tom's shoulder. It's money in the bank, Tom. And the actor, Bill Simmons, just gave him this look like, oh, I am soiled for life. How did you use your right hand? As soon as Sam did that, I knew he was our guy. So, we've had so much fun doing this thing, and everybody's just done 110%. I just can't wait until we can go on with other episodes. There is a slim chance that we could raise money and make it an internet show, you know. That's always a possibility, but we got to raise more money in order to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, letting you off the hook for a minute, you mentioned Sam. If Sam and Angela could talk a little bit, well, we've given a brief overview about who the characters are. If there's anything you all would like to explain and talk a little bit about your characters.
Yeah, this is Angela. You know, I suspect that a lot of women who watch the pilot or the subsequent episodes might be able to identify with Ellen, not in terms of producing pornography, obviously, but, you know, just in terms of, I think a lot of women, especially these days, feel the weight of picking up the slack of being providers for their family. I mean, things are not as they once were, for better and worse. You know, and I think that Ellen is not one to sit around and do a lot of hand-wringing. You know, like a lot of parents, she looks at the situation and thinks, I got to find a way to provide for my kid. And and she gets to a point where she almost really doesn't care how it gets done as long as it gets done. So, you know, it's really interesting to play somebody coming from that attitude. I would say I'm much more of a worrywart than I think Ellen is. I mean, she's definitely more a woman of action. And I don't think that she spends a lot of time laying in bed awake at night wondering how it's all going to turn out. I think she's just like, you know, the farm is solvent, and that's all she really, you know, the farm is solvent, and her daughter is unaware, she thinks, and that's all she really cares about at the time, for the time being. Not that she's an uncaring person, but I think she felt like their backs were against a wall, and she took action. And I think that's something that a lot of women these days can relate to. I think everybody feels economic pressures from time to time, but, you know, it can be a particular stress for women because if they take too much action, like in the case of Tom and Ellen, then, you know, their husband or their partner can tend to feel emasculated by that, and I think that does create problems in Tom and Ellen's relationship. So I think there are a lot of women out there who kind of have to walk that fine line, and I hope ultimately find Ellen relatable. And I will say, too, for the record, even though he's not here, the guy who plays Tom in Neon Cornfield is my friend Bill Simmons, and it worked out really beautifully because in real life, Bill and I have been friends for, I hesitate to say, but I think it's coming up on 20 years, and we actually get cast as husband and wife quite a bit. And so it was really nice after all this time to be able to play on-screen wife with him because the two of us have, I think, we have a very real connection in real life, and I think that translates to screen and stage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in fact, you know, we get mad at each other in real life. Like a husband and wife. All of that plays, the joking around and the getting mad at each other. It's all there in the subtext of what you see us doing in the pilot.
I've not seen them in bed together yet, though.
You have seen as much as there has ever been. As much of us in bed together as ever been is all on the screen in Neon Cornfield. In fact, I want to say that scene where Ellen flashes Tom, I talked to Steve about in advance, and I was like, look, Bill and I have been friends for 20 years, and we have managed to go this entire time without seeing each other's junk. And I really don't want to, like, you know, ruin that now. So Steve very graciously got me a body double. Am I allowed to say that? Got me a body double from Hooters for that scene.
From Hooters.
I, on the other hand, have known Bill for a much shorter amount of time, and he's already seen me naked.
Multiple takes.
Yeah, multiple takes. And sometimes that sock just doesn't stay on, no matter how much you want it to. You know, the interesting thing about Justin, this is Sam Fain, by the way. I play Justin Hammer. And when I initially read the script, I thought it was funny. You know, I got a kick out of it. But I didn't necessarily know where he was coming from or, you know, who he was. One of the things that Steve did tell me early on is that he was a local boy. You know, he's not a porn star. He's not coming from L.A. with, the, you know, the rest of these people. Like, you know, Maya's character, Bambi, is, you know, she's a porn star. She's done porn. That's what she's done. The director, the producer, they've all done this before. A lot of the other actors have done it before. Justin, he's a local guy, and he just happens to be very well endowed and gets brought into this world. And that, for me, as an actor, was just a wonderful jumping on point because, you know, there's obviously that fish out of water vibe, but where we were when the pilot started, I felt like that had already happened, and now he'd embraced it. You know, Justin was so into what he was doing and so happy with the fact that he was employed and making money, and, you know, it's good for his self-image and all of those sorts of things. I think it was even more reinforcement when Steve and I discussed the fact that he probably came from a really crappy childhood, you know, broken home, didn't have any kind of stability growing up, and now all of a sudden he's got all sorts of stability. And I think that's the, you know, that's the other thing that's just kind of amazing about the story in general, is the idea that we have, you know, these characters that are searching for something, that are looking for something, and they go to this extreme, and all of a sudden they're kind of starting to find it, and the question of how that affects their lives in the long term is the beauty of the pilot in general. There's this great movie from the mid-'90s called Beautiful Girls. Timothy Hutton's in it, Matt Dillon, Uma Thurman, Natalie Portman. She's 13 years old. She's brilliant. But anyway, one of the things that I love about that movie is the not only the sense of community, but the sense that a lot of these people are kind of looking for a way out or looking for a means to an end. And I think that that's very true of Neon Cornfield. There are a lot of us that are, you know, just looking for a means to an end, and Justin's means to his end is this job. And I think he embraces it. It's fun, and he goes full bore. He's not the brightest bulb, you know. He's
No.
he's not he's not the archetype by any means, but he's been able to find this niche, and he's, you know, been appreciated in a way that he's never been before. And I think that's kind of the thing for him. He's always just trying to be like, hey, I can do this, and, you know, and just show everyone his commitment, which is one of the reasons why he does go up to Tom touching himself and not worried about it, you know, because it's like, I got a job to do. And I think that's the other interesting thing for me in the beginning, the relationship with the other characters, and Tom in particular. There's very nearly a, you know, I think Justin sees him as a paternal figure in a lot of ways. And I don't know, there's something very interesting about that to me, and I look forward to the chance to explore that even more, you know, as an actor. I think there's a lot of places that Justin can go, and with the other characters in particular, there's, you know, a lot of nice little seeds have been planted for the relationships that can grow out of that, and some of the crazy situations that I'm sure exist in Steve's head.
There's a hardware store owner in town in a future episode, and Justin goes to get some hardware, chains and this kind of stuff. He's basically running an errand for the production team, and he's not called a one-trick pony. He's called a one-trick horse, if that helps any in describing how Justin Hammer is well endowed.
Which I think is something else for the future that also provides something really interesting, is the fact that I think that's something that he'll probably want to fight against eventually. You know, sure. Justin won't want to just be that one-trick pony. You know, he'll want to be James Dean. Mm-hmm. Either one, really. There's an adult film star, and he calls himself James Dean. And the funny thing is I recently read that he's going to be in like a mainstream movie, and it's a very big deal. And when I read that, I thought to myself, really? That's interesting. That's totally something Justin would want to do.
That's true.
Now, we've already talked about a few funny incidents on set. Do you guys have any other funny stories on set you'd like to share?
No, it's very serious, I'm sure.
I'm sure it's very serious, yes.
You know, I have to say, one of the last days we were shooting, it was a lot of the scenes out in the barn, so it was a lot of the porn stuff going on, and it's the scene where Ellen comes and, like, interrupts Tom's reverie to say, you know, he needs to drive her to the airport. And this is not to knock anybody else, but we took a break for lunch during that day, and I have to say, quite a few of the characters who were doing the porn scenes elected not to like put on additional wardrobe for the lunch break. And so those of us who were fully clothed were sort of sitting around fairly awkwardly with other people who were still in their outfits from the porn scenes, and we were all sitting on these like wooden benches, and I was thinking, geez, I don't know, I would put some additional clothes on if I were you, but whatever. It was all good.
Yeah. I think my favorite moment, I kind of feel bad for sharing this because he's not here to actually defend himself, but favorite moment from the set was a moment between Rich and Maya. Rich plays the sheriff, Maya plays Bambi, and there's that moment where Rich's character is supposed to fart, and Rich lets Maya know that there was a time when he could actually do that on cue. I didn't really believe him, and I'm standing off to the side, and I'm just thinking this is kind of funny that he would even say that, and then all of a sudden, they're getting ready for the shot, and Steve yells action, and sure enough, Rich just decides to let one go, and poor Maya is trying to just stay with it, but it was so unexpected that she can't, and of course we got to yell cut and reset it and everything, but that's something I don't think I'll ever forget. Just Rich just kind of standing there saying, "I can do this," and then 5 minutes later he does it, and
the look on Maya's face was just
yeah, because it was at first it was pure disgust. She just had this face. Are you kidding me? And then she just couldn't help but laugh because it was so absurd that he just did that right in the middle of the shot. Yeah.
That's great.
He's method.
He's method.
Another thing that is unique to my experience was certainly all of the adventures I had with trying to clothe certain parts of my body, because initially I was given a cup, basically, to figure out how to fasten this onto myself in a manner that A, it wouldn't fall off, and B, it would be comfortable.
A drinking cup?
Kind of like an athletic supporter cup almost. It was a very interesting piece.
It was gross.
Okay. They basically, I didn't know they did this, but I guess they make these things for male models and male dancers that they can put in their pants to enhance the look of their package. Oh. And that's what they got me. The thing is of course, when those guys use them, they're wearing, like a thong or a bikini brief or something like that, and I wasn't afforded that luxury. So there was no way to really put this thing on. And it wasn't, and I say this in all modesty, it wasn't really big enough to cover anything anyway. So eventually I ended up crafting of my own design a sock that was on occasion very cooperative and on other occasions not so cooperative, which is one of the reasons why Bill Simmons has indeed seen my full Monty. And Bill, yes, I apologize.
He did tell me. I talked to him that night when he got home. When Bill got home, I talked to him on the phone. He said he was on his second martini.
Yeah, I'm sure he needed it.
Actually, I can tell a little bit of a story on Sam, and this is not while we were shooting, but immediately before we started shooting, I was over here reading something with Steve, and I think he got a text or a phone call or something from Sam because Sam had been to get some a spray on tan or get a spray tan so that it would look like he'd been out in the sun. And I guess to get his spray tan, he'd worn this really skimpy thong thing that Steve had procured for him. And all I know, well, you can tell the rest of the story, Steve. He gets this text from Sam wondering.
Well, I knew the person that ran the spray tan joint, so I sort of went in the day before, a couple days before, and I said, "Listen, Angela, I got a really unusual request. I got this actor coming in. We need to spray his entire body, but I can't have any tan lines. So you think your people can handle that?" And she's the one that suggested the thong, because that way the girl can kind of just pick up the thong away from the skin and spray underneath it, and then kind of just move over to other real estate as she needs to. So I guess it worked out okay, but I did get a very interesting look from the girl at Lover's Lane when I bought the thong. First of all, this girl in Lover's Lane was had a face only her mother could like.
Oh no!
And here she's selling the sex stuff, And I had a couple questions about that, but I didn't bring them up. Anyway, so I bring this nice black thong up to her, and it's it says on the thing, men's thong and stuff. And she looked at me, as if I was going to wear it. And I go, oh, no, it's for a friend of mine. Oh, no, I shouldn't have said that. Wait a minute. It's for later today. No, I didn't mean that.
So Sam wears the thing to go get his spray tan, and then after he was done, he texted Steve to say, does Steve want the song back?
That's right.
All I knew about it is I was in the middle of reading something with Steve, and I hear Steve say, no.
I was speechless.
You can keep the song. I do not want it back.
Yeah.
Still in my van, actually.
He keeps it handy.
No, I think the best part about that particular thing for me is I was horribly embarrassed about the whole thing. I'm like, I'm honest. I'm one of those guys who figures if I'm going to get a tan, it's because I'm out in the sun for a while. I'm not going to go to a tanning bed. I'm not going to get sprayed on, any of that. So I was kind of like, all right, I'll go do this thing. And I went in, and she had to have been all of 22 years old.
She was hot.
She was gorgeous. This cute, blonde girl. She's like, yeah, come back into the room. You'll do this. You'll do that. You'll do this. I'm going, okay, fine. I disrobe. I'm standing there in this shower stall, basically, just waiting for her to come in. She opens the door, and just as a reflex, I put my hands in front of myself, and she started to laugh, and she stops. She goes, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't laugh. And I just looked at her and I said, no, what you just did is probably the best thing that could have happened right now, because it's ridiculous. What's happening right now is the most absurd thing that I've ever done, so spray away. Yeah, and that was how that went down.
Now, you have a great cast. Are all the actors from Indiana?
All of them except Maya. Mm-hmm. Maya's from Chicago. Maya Boudreau, the girl that plays Bambi. She's Chicago. Everybody else is local. Theater people mostly. Mm-hmm. And they've all been in shows together. I think that's one of the reasons that it all works so well. Is these people know each other really well, and they work together really well.
Good.
We were very efficient on set. It was incredible to me. 2 or 3 takes, we're done. Move on.
Yeah, the chemistry was very good. It really, it wasn't a hard sell at all that people were related or had known each other their whole lives in this small town, because everyone really, it really seemed like it.
Well, it's good to know. Hopefully that it's portrayed that way.
And Angela and Sam, I think you talked a little bit about what sold you on this pilot, but how did you get involved? Was this an open casting call that you answered, or was networking?
Yeah, kind of networking, really. Actually, I auditioned for a play, and no more than an hour after the audition, Bill Simmons had been sitting in on the audition, actually, and he called me about an hour after the audition and said, you should go and read this. It's it's a pilot that we're shooting. I'm in it, and he put me in touch with Steve, and 2 days later, I was in the office doing the read, and 15 minutes after I did the read, Steve was like, join us, and I said, okay, that was kind of how it worked for me, and, like Steve was saying, a lot of us have worked together, and Bill and I, actually, the show that I auditioned for that day ended up being in that show together as well, so Bill and I were working together, a lot for those couple of months between the pilot and working on the play, and, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, that's basically how I got involved.
Yeah, I think it's a similar story for me. I'm not sure from Steve's end, but I have the sense that probably 1 or 2 people recommended me to Steve. I was unaware of the project, but again, a woman that I was doing a play with this past summer knew about it, and I think that she told Steve to get in touch with me. And I had worked with Bill many, many times before, and with Rich, who plays the sheriff. And so it's kind of interesting that Steve and I never worked together before this project, because so many of our professional connections overlap, but I think it was just a question of, several people saying to him, oh, you maybe should talk to Angela Plank about this. So there were a couple of readings, and I don't know.
That
was it.
Yeah, it was very good. It's very good casting. You all did a great job, and I know, Sam, listening to your explanation about how Justin Hammer is kind of this guy who's, he's not really in his element, but he tries really hard, and he's trying to be like the good guy for his friend, and kind of, please everybody, and trying really hard. Take that the wrong way, but and try really hard. It kind of explains why you're watching it, and he is funny, but you're also kind of rooting for him, because you're kind of like, he's a nice guy, you hope it goes well for him.
Oh, thanks, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
he could very easily be creepy, but he's not.
Right, yeah, totally. I could totally see that. You're right. He could be totally creepy. I'm glad that he's not.
is there anything else you guys would like to add?
Watch the show.
Yeah, watch the show.
Support the show.
Can you tell our listeners how they can find your show?
Well, I'm glad you asked. There's a website called Vimeo, which is kind of like YouTube, but it's a little higher quality. And if you go to the AdrenalineMotionPictures.com website, our production company's website, it's the first thing you see. If you click on the graphic, it takes you right to the pilot.
Hi, my name is Crystal Lowe from Primeval New World, and you are listening to GenreTainment.
Thank you to Steve Marra, Angela Plank, and Sam Fain for agreeing to chat with us, and we wish them luck on getting backing for the series.
Now let's go to our bonus interview with 2 of the cast members of SyFy Channel's Being Human. Warning, if you haven't seen episode 1 of season 3, which just aired, there may be a few spoilers in this interview.
Consider yourself warned.
But you never thought that you were the lucky one.
We could still be wolves.
Is there a way back?
We all have problems and we're still here.
My idea of date night was not digging up 4 corpses, okay? Being human.
What happened in season 1? Okay, basically, Sam and I, it was just us searching for Sally and Aiden the whole time, so it was great to just, we worked, we started off with a bang. We were in, every day, all day, which was a great way to start the season. And also, right away in episode 1, these new, one specific character, the witch, is introduced, and, the new supernatural elements with that. And so it just brought this whole new, fantastic, exciting energy to the season, which was such a great way to get back into things.
I just remember digging a bunch of people up. Honestly, I look back at F1, I'm like, we dug a lot of holes, dug a lot of dead people up. Well, what's cool about Josh as a character is he's whether or not he's a werewolf, he's a really layered guy. He's a really dynamic character. So, the werewolf thing certainly adds a huge other layer, but the character itself is really rich. So for me, it doesn't change much other than feeling slightly like I'm on the outside, looking in.
I've taken your place.
Well, yeah, exactly. Kristen is now taking my place, and she's making it known, by the way. But yeah, no, it's as I was playing it, the character becomes increasingly more and more feeling like he's left out, and I was oddly feeling the same way as an actor. All these my wonderful co-stars get to do this fun stuff, and now I'm looking in through the window like the ghost of Christmas past. To be honest, though, I do now sympathize more with Megan in the first 2 seasons. With her being a ghost, not being able to touch anyone, not all the restrictions that were on her. I kind of felt similarly once I got cured of my werewolfism. So I definitely felt Megan Rath, the Megan Rath's pain for sure.
I think that this season we've really gone back to what worked so well in season 1 with the roommates and keeping everyone's storylines connected and that camaraderie between everyone, and the writers did a fantastic job this season of bringing that back. So I think everyone's been really excited about that because we always have the most fun on set when we're all there together.
And it was a goal for the writers to put us all back together because it's their favorite thing to write too, I think, as well. It's light and it's fun, and we all work pretty well together. So
we have so much fun on set, and I really do. This is one of my favorite jobs I've ever had. So I don't even mind the long hours.
She's the best too. Having her on set is so much fun. I always want more of Kristen, and whenever even in previous seasons, when I watch an episode and she's not in it, right. It'll take me a second to be like, what is something?
You missed me.
Oh God, I missed you. So more of Kristen Hager is a good thing always.
I feel like season 3 definitely starts with like a year and a half after season 2 ended. So Josh and Nora have had a lot of time, just the two of them, and a lot of time to work on their relationship. So season 3 definitely sees Josh and Nora in a much better place than they've been in any of the seasons thus far. And I feel like I feel like we'll see just much more of a real, very, very human problems that they'll have to deal with day to day in their relationship this season, which was nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's still like, we went to some really dark places in season 2, and it's not that we don't go to dramatic places in season 3. We do, but I think that a lot of them are more grounded and relatable, and I think that that's something that people are going to really enjoy. There's a lot more levity this year, simply because all of us are back together again. If you will, the band is back together, and that was not only fun to shoot, but I think it really is going to come across, as being fun to watch, I hope. And so I think that's, it's our best season yet. I think we all agree it's our best season yet. I really hope.
Yeah, I agree. Just like there's just so many like new characters and like an exciting energy that, not that it wasn't there before, but just like a very newness and freshness to the season this year. Sally, like Josh and Nora have been living there by themselves for a year and a half. So obviously their goal has been to bring back Sally and Aiden. But then once Sally and Aiden get back, that then we all have to sort of figure out how to live with each other. And I feel that what the audience will soon come to see is that like Aiden and Nora have the hardest time with that dynamic because we had our moments in season 2 where we butted heads, and so that carried over into season 3. So we'll definitely have,
to put it lightly,
say that there'll be a few conflicting moments between Nora and Aiden this season. We find out, how I went off. She went off and ran with the wolves. You find out where she went, what happened, and all the consequences from that really bubble up to the surface in season 3.
Which is cool in my opinion, because a lot of times, when you have like a fantasy-based show, it's so easy to gloss over the things that the characters do, and the negative things. It's easy just to forget about them. So I was really, really happy that the writers were like, no, these people are definitely going to pay for what they did.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's really cool. It's really, really cool, and they did a wonderful job. With really ramping up the danger and the tension and everything. So,
and which adds to again the whole humanity of the show. We talk over and over again about how yes, they're supernatural, but these are human beings, and the way that we deal with all of these situations on the show is like how would any of you deal with it? How would any human deal with it? And so again, like that's a great aspect to the show, is that everyone has to pay for what they do. I had a new character that Nora definitely has a very interesting relationship with this whole season. Xander Berkeley, he plays Liam, the purebred twins, Connor and Brenton last season. It's their father, and he comes back. In episode 2, he arrives, and he's looking for answers because he hasn't seen or heard from his children in over a year. And so yeah, I have a very, very, like I said, interesting storyline with him. And he was great to work with. Fantastic bad guy, really good at his job, knew what he was doing. And yeah, great. We had some great scenes together.
Well, it obviously takes a lot of CGI and special effects makeup to turn you guys into werewolves. Can you talk about the process you have to go through in a transformation sequence? How long it may take makeup-wise, and the stages you have to go through for one of those really like longer sequences where they show you in different stages of transformation?
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Depending on okay, so you're talking about the really excruciating ones, right? You're talking about the ones that are really the sons of bitches. it depends on so there's different applications. There's the the chess
like
pieces.
There's 4 stages of the werewolf.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, there's the chest. You have your chest piece. You have your back piece. Which those are the real beasts, if you will. Those are the real toughies because they take the longest to apply, and then you have to paint them in, and then there's a face application. Have you ever had that, Kristen?
I haven't had the face. No.
It sucks. It's not super fun. So that's the whole thing. And then you have your hands, which, believe it or not, like the claws, they're the easiest to apply, but they're perhaps the most annoying.
They are to get off.
Yeah, you can't. It's hard to get them off, but then also like peeing is tough. Eating is really hard. So like there's like just the makeup is a real bitch, and it also like when you put it all on, like it takes. I mean, it takes 6-7 hours. Like when you put it all on in stages,
wow.
It's pretty intense. And then beyond that, once you get into it, you have to perform in it. And it's not just performing; it's screaming and wailing and straining and acting like you're in the most physical pain of your life, and so that unto itself is exhausting, but the good news is the makeup is so uncomfortable that it's really hard not to be aware of it. So it actually helps kind of get you there. So I guess that's good, but anyway, it's still a great job. It's the best job.
Well, good. All right.
Well, I'll always say, like, as an actor, like when you're a young person, you dream of being an actor in TV and movies. You're not saying, I really want to play an accountant. You're like, I want to play a friggin' superhero, or I want to play a monster, or I want to play anything that's visceral and fun and interesting. So I feel like we're really lucky to have these jobs.
Mother's dead. They're all dead.
Josh isn't a werewolf.
We're bringing Sally back.
It's getting out of control.
Hi, I'm George Straighton, screenwriter of Hercules and Xena Warrior Princess, and you're listening to GenreTainment.
Thanks to SyFy Channel for the chance to speak to the cast members of Being Human, and we look forward to seeing what they have in store for us for Season 3.
So that's it for today's GenreTainment. Check back next week with all new guests from our favorite films, TV shows, novels, and web series.
Including the cast and crew of the web series Standard Action and the weird Western series Western X. And don't forget about the other great shows on this channel, like Ian Cullen's SFP Now, which typically airs on Fridays, and Jeff Trek on Saturdays.
Plus, we have a new show premiering next Sunday called The Round Table, where various hosts from the channel team up with a few special guests to discuss hot topics in our favorite genres. In the first episode, it will be Julie and I, joined by SFP Now host Ian Cullen and 2 guests, as we discuss long-running sci-fi franchises and what we think of the direction they have taken over the years.
Mm-hmm. And we'll be joined by Doug Drexler, a visual effects artist, designer, and Academy Award-winning makeup artist who's worked on various Star Trek TV shows and on Battlestar Galactica. And we'll be joined by Jason Brazier, the director of the 2 web series, one of them Drifter, Broken Road, and the other Stage Fright.
GenreTainment will be back right here on this channel at SyFyPulseRadio.com next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific. And don't forget, you can also search the archives to hear any of our past episodes.
Until next time.